All right. There we go. Okay. Hi, I'm Kathy Johnson, and welcome to Town Talk. I have with me, back by popular demand, part two of the Jay Halpern Hour. Uh, I want to welcome Jay and have him just give us a little minute overview of who he is, why he's here, and we'll be talking about a lot of issues today. One will be the power plant issue. Unfortunately, this show will air on Friday, and we would have already gone to vote on the power plant. But I think there's a lot more information, even after the fact, that Jay has to offer and that we can kick around. So, welcome, Jay.
Oh, my pleasure. It's always fun to be with you in front of a TV camera.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. You're one of the easiest guests I have on.
Oh.
Because you're a lot of fun, and you have a wealth of information, and not only that, you're very entertaining. So,
well, thank you. You know, I mean, life is short, and I like to have as much fun as possible, and to make as much fun out of stuff that even is not pleasant. You know, this power plant fiasco that has gone on for 20 years
right.
has rarely been pleasant. It's been frustrating. It's been like, who are these people? What planet have I landed among? You know,
right.
A very famous woman who is on the Asperger's end of autism considers herself. She writes. You know, Temple Grandin is her name. She writes books about being autistic, and she's a doctor in. I think it's not educational psychology, but it has to do with engineering and training, and mostly focusing on animal intelligence. So I find it interesting. Anyway, she considers herself, in relation to the people that she lives among, we who are not on the Asperger's spectrum, she considers herself an anthropologist on Mars. That's how she describes, you know, being around quote unquote normal people. She looks around and says, who are these people? Why do they do what they do? Why do they think that way? Very much similar to the characterization created in Star Trek for Mr. Spock.
Oh.
You know, he is designed as an Asperger's, you know, autistic related person. Not autistic, but the demeanor and the wisdom and looking at other people like, you know, why do you do that? It doesn't.
They see the world so differently.
In many cases, right.
Yes.
And I find, as I go along, that particularly involving this power plant stuff, I said, among whom am I living? Why do they vote for these people when you know that you have been robbed in the past?
Right.
You know, they will continue to rob you. You know, when they talk about taxes, for example.
Yes.
Oh, well, here's the deal. We're going to do this. I've been hearing that for 20 years about taxes. Now, I have opposed the power plant primarily on environmental grounds. I think that it's an abomination to still burn fossil fuels.
Right.
I think that devoting $1 billion, quote unquote, to a project is $1 billion that should be put in something which they would then invest in if they could not do this.
Right.
One would hope, okay,
Right.
that would be directed, or, you know, to alternatives, be that as it may. Regardless of deals, regardless, oh, this is what we're going to pay, and this is what blah, 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 and everything, for 20 years. Anytime a payment came due, they go someplace. I mean, you're a select person. You have been a first selectman. You don't even know how they get in and talk and abrogate the deal. Oh, we're going to change the deal. We're going to modify that, and here's the new deal, which means they don't pay. And then
Yes.
the time comes due, and you got to pay something else, you know. They run, and it goes, oh, we're not paying it. So this controversy, and cut right to the chase about the vote on Thursday. Should we vote against going back to this, or do we vote for what's up there? Right? It is my opinion.
Yes.
No matter how the vote turns out, they're not paying taxes, no
No.
matter what.
Yes.
It's not going to happen. And as soon as something is due, you know, they go into the mystical, you know, chamber.
Right.
And out comes another contract, which says, well, now we've changed it for, and it's not just Republicans in the lead, it's been Democrats in the lead.
Right.
Everybody, somehow,
They get away with it.
we pay, we resolve nothing and we get paid nothing. And then they say, oh, well, we got this big fire truck. $1 million for the fire. They were forced to have a fire truck in this town that could go 5 stories up, which we did not have, in order to get their certificate, because they needed some vehicle that would go up there and be big enough to spray down whatever caught on fire.
Right.
Okay? They said, well, look, they contributed the fire. They didn't contribute anything.
No.
They had to buy that, or they had no certificate.
Right.
So they haven't done it. When they claim to have won this outrageously bogus referendum, which they say was, you know, and it was tied to a school and everything.
The very original in 1999, was it?
Yeah,
Or not?
right, the very first one.
When
okay.
they sold the land, yeah.
Right.
When we sold the land.
Right. I heard the conversation, you know, with, who was it? It was Temple and some reporter in the
Right.
crowd and everything. And a reporter saying to him,
Temple
he
was
says,
the town attorney then.
at that time, right? He'd been preceded by Attorney Oskovich. You know, he
Right.
was really the first guy, and then Temple came in and got involved.
Right.
You know, a little later. But bottom line is,
You heard Temple.
he was, you know, he's telling this guy, you know, he said, we're going to win. And the reporter says, well, you know, suppose you don't win. And he says, oh, no, 70-30, we're going to wipe them out. You know, everybody wants this. We want the tax money. We want to build a school. We want all of these great things.
Same cast of characters.
Right. We want to build a school. We want to do this, you know. He said, okay, but what's going to happen? Let's, you know, what's going to happen if you don't win, if you lose? You know, you got the contract signed already before the referendum. What are you going to do? And Temple says, well, we'll just declare this referendum non-binding.
Non-binding.
Heads, I win. Boom. Tails, you lose. And that's how this government is run here in Oxford.
Yes.
And that's how it goes. And everybody sits around, thinks that they're going to fight for the right and so forth. And the bottom line is, you know, the initial contract was illegal. It was created by subterfuge, by telling nobody what the special powers were supposed to be and everything for Schreiber at the time. And nobody knew about it. And, you know, I said in the last program, if you go home and you see somebody's behind hanging out of the window to your house, you yank them down and say, what the hell are you doing in my house, climbing in the window? Oh, I'm just here to distribute some Girl Scout cookies.
Right.
Right. You know something crooked is going on. Well, that's been going on for 20 years, and it has not changed. And I'll tell you this. In this case, the original chairman of the Siting Council, who supported all of the power, whatever it was, he supported it, you know. And he had, his name is Mort Gelston, okay? And at the Legislative Office Building, there he was. Now, he was in a wheelchair. His aide wasn't with him. Everybody was at the end of this meeting. He disappeared. I'm sitting there, and I see he can't get his legs back on the plates of his wheelchair.
Okay.
So I go over, I get down, I start working. I mean, that's my life. I do that.
You do that all the time. You're involved with people with
I do
disabilities.
many things. I teach college, I do lots of different things, and I work for 30 years with people with disabilities, particularly on the lower end of the cognitive spectrum. Anyway, so I go up to him, and I'm putting this. How can you touch me? You hate me. I said, I don't hate you. I said, you're doing what you got to do and everything. It is what it is.
Right. Right.
And he says, I just don't know something. I said, what don't you know? He says, why do you people in Oxford keep voting for these people? And I said, it's a mystery to me. I'm from New York City, man. It's just, I would still be in New York if a building had fallen on my apartment. I ended up in Oxford. I don't know, it had to be the hand of God. Sent me for some reason. Probably had nothing to do with the power plant, thank God. It was to get involved with people with disabilities. It's a direction that when you have written the lead fiction for a big place like Macmillan, you end up going off in your life into these other areas.
Yes.
So it was like God said, you need to be out of here now, okay? You did your thing, you got your book done.
In New York,
go.
Yep. Now it's time to move
go
on.
And do something a little more important to mankind, So.
Now, you talked about the very first inklings of the beginning of us selling that Tawanna Hill.
Right.
Tawanna Hill, as I remember, was not industrial at the time.
Well, that's another thing.
Yeah.
I said to them, you can't sell this to a power plant. What do you mean we can't? Yeah, who was the chairman of the planning and zoning? Was that Robinson?
Dave Robinson.
Right. They were so...
He shall live in infamy in my mind.
Well, whatever. He was so... Well, he and all of them. They were so... the glitz from the Gold Coast comes up.
Oh,
Westport,
my God, money.
Money. Oh, will you marry my daughter? Maybe we,
Oh,
do,
yeah. For an extra 10?
Right. Whatever.
How much for your little girl?
Yeah, right. So, I mean, they were just so blown away by these people.
Oh,
coming
yeah.
in
They saw the dollar signs.
Right. Well, he forgot that this property was zoned residential.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. I said, you can't do it. Why can't we do it? It's zoned residential. And they look around at each other like this. The same way these new guys looked at each other at the most recent town hall meeting when Phil Ashton from the Siting Council, who's the big power plant expert there, big tall guy and everything, and he's saying, well, what are you going to do to mitigate the noise issues? And these guys, 12 people, about a dozen people, with high-tech laptops,
Yeah.
they couldn't say anything. And Ashton is saying, don't you think, and he's talking slowly like he's talking to, young idiots, don't you think that if you did this and that may be helpful? In other words, he was telling them what he wanted to hear them write.
In other words, prompting.
Them right, and he's doing and he must have given them like 8 points.
I remember that September hearing where they were like deer in the headlights.
Right, and you ask yourself, and I did this in the interrogatories. I brought this up, so it's on paper, in the one of my interrogatories. Are you guys really the people who are going to be involved with this power plant, running this power plant? Because you don't seem to know anything about what you're supposed to be committed to. And as I noted in the interrogatories, that they don't have to know what commitments are being made to the Siting Council on paper, certification, or otherwise, because for 20 years they just do whatever they want to do and change the paperwork. They get a new certificate from the Siting Council, they get a new agreement from the power plant at the very end of it, and we hold all successors to this. Like if I ever ran, God forbid, if I ever ran for first selectman, and I'm going to hang on to what they said because it says new successors to this. You have to follow this. KISS. Well,
okay.
as
We're
it
on
says,
cable. You could actually say that, but that's okay. We get it.
I'll get literary, just so the audience knows. In James Joyce's Ulysses, he has a subchapter entitled KMRIA, which means Kiss My Royal Irish Ass. And so There you go. That's
And
oh,
that,
I'm gonna
and what does that spell?
KMRIA. I don't know. Kiss my royal
I
Irish.
know, but it sounds like crime to me.
Oh,
Just the way
it doesn't spell it, but
it feels like the word should be crime, but the letters are.
well, these guys have, in my book, turned the word technology into a crime.
Yes.
You know, the way they have handled all of this, because they know that what they're doing is just for money. They're not doing it because, you know, the power is needed. They're not doing it because, you know, this is a, you know, a new technology that will be on for the next 100 years. No, this is going to die.
Yes, it is.
They're planning already how to, or let me rephrase that. They're pretending to plan already for how to dismantle this. That goes in the certificate as well. You
Sure.
know,
How it's
how
gonna
you're going
be-
to take it apart, put everything back together again. The hell with that. They'll sign anything because they're not going to do any of that. And the Siting Council, when the S hits the fan,
Okay.
can
the
I say
doo-doo-
that too?
The doo-doo.
The doo-doo, well, that's so.
The poop.
The poop, that's, yeah, but I talk like that to my puppies. We got human beings out there, you know, I hate to, you know, even abbreviate it, you know, but yes, the poo-poo.
When the
When the poo-poo
poo-poo-
hits the fan and everything,
Yes.
nobody from the Siting Council is going to be with, you know, hip boots and everything, walking out there to see the flames or to be around pulling people out of airplanes or do any of this stuff, you know, which could very well happen because not only is this located in the worst possible place.
It is. That's a big problem.
Right. Well, but the reason it was located there, as I will reiterate, was that there was $1 million+ worth of connectivity to a gas line and a power line right there. They didn't have to pay for rights of way. They didn't have to fight with 15 different municipalities to get this going. Here it was, and they bought
Right,
the whole
right on a
property
silver platter.
on a silver platter. And not only what,
Oh, you lost your mic.
not only.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Technical difficulty.
Well,
We'll,
no,
we'll-
I'll just hold it.
hold your mic.
Hold
Yes.
my mic.
All right.
Not only was it right there for them, but for the whole property, the 20 acres, they paid 150 grand. It was worth millions. We discussed this last time.
We
okay?
did.
But
We
that
did.
just shows the criminality of the people letting this happen.
Well,
if it was your property and you had the one thing worth millions
To
a
somebody
buyer,
who really wanted to
right,
be there.
are you going to give them a break?
No.
No. So you should have come. If there's, oh, we're going to build a school. Okay.
And
This property will cost you $63 million, and we'll put that money right down now on a school.
and they would say, I'm going to take it by eminent domain, but we're going to court. As I've heard on TV, when you go to court, you get a lot more money that way by going to court for your property that might have been taken by eminent domain.
Well, you have an argument against eminent domain and that price,
Right?
unlike landowners who get their property taken away so some business can come in there. You know, you have this junction that's right there.
Sure.
And for this project, it is indubitably worth millions of dollars. Therefore, you're going to charge them for it. And if that goes to court, I mean, eminent domain, people who don't have the argument to fight for it, who don't have the will to. I was enthralled that you know, Oxford lost the airport land by eminent domain. I think that happened before I even came into town.
Before I got here, too.
Yeah, a long time ago. You know, they let that go and they didn't fight for that. Back then, you know, it was probably easier to fight against stuff. Remember, when Tehuantec, Arena Capital first came in, we mentioned this last time. Who was running the state? Roland.
Yes.
This was up. Come on, guys. Let's go. I'm running the state. Get, you know, do what you got to do. I'll make sure it happens.
Well, let's back up to when you said, so we start out with the sale of the power plant.
Right.
I mean, the land. The
Yeah.
sale of the land.
Right.
We've already got Temple saying that if that referendum went down, or that ballot went down, That's okay. We would just do it anyway. We've got Dave Robinson,
figure.
chair of the zoning board. That particular zoning board says, "Oops, it's residential. We have to change the zoning regs." And now what you're telling me is there's a foundation there from the very beginning that things were done illegally.
Absolutely. Certainly, things were done not only illegally, but they were done in contrary to what the public would have wanted. And these guys are all public servants. Every nickel they make, working on the job, is supposed to be to the betterment, the best interests of the public that you serve.
Well, I'm going to interject something here, which is probably going to get me in a lot of trouble, but then I'm not afraid of trouble. But I'm going to say what I see the truth is. In 1990, 2000, I guess we went for that vote to sell the property. The leadership in Oxford decided to manipulate and use the young parents in this town who were desperately wanting a high school for their children. They turned around and told these parents, yeah, vote for selling this land because it's the only way you're going to get your high school. Of course, they were being duped by an administration who had no intention of building a high school at that time. So they manipulated the parents. Let's fast forward to right now, at this very moment. Mm-hmm. Parents, I've given your children candy, hugs, certificates, football fields, playgrounds. Why, I've thrown money around like confetti, says Mr. Temple, in order to win your vote. And now I'm telling you, if you don't vote for this power plant agreement, you can't have your grammar school, which we need because the center school is falling apart. And allow me one more sentence. The center school's been falling apart for a good many years. Mr. Temple has had 4 years to address the center school, and all he's done is addressed playgrounds and happy things and stood on football fields with football shirts on, and now in the 11th hour he's cramming a power plant down our throats and telling us that's how we'll get a grammar school. And he was the town attorney, as you mentioned, for Mr. Schreiber during the high school days, and he's now the first selectman of the town. Does the scenario sound familiar? Thank you for my soapbox.
Well, you're welcome to it. Your take sounds familiar. It is a political stance as well as a moral stance.
It is.
I personally, I try to stick to the moral thing. I'm not running or have not run for anything.
Well, I'm going to interject the politics.
In 2000, I did run because nobody wanted to put anybody against San Angelo.
Right.
And what a great job he did. And as mayor, disappears. I don't know what happened to him, but let's not even.
He rode off into the sunset. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what happened, but
okay.
He had a nice wife. She was very sweet lady. Mm-hmm. She got rid of him, so it was. Anyway, so, be that as it may.
So we'll go back to the moral issue. The moral issue is that they trick people.
Well, they trick people. They pretend things. I mean, they claim that a vote is going to be legitimate and a vote is for a particular purpose. And when the vote is done and the vote is supposedly won by them, no high school.
Yeah.
Where's the high school? What happened there? Where did that happen? Hum.
Right.
Where's the high school? In fact, the same people shot down high school referendums, 3 times.
And then they built the school for $10 million more because they didn't like me or anybody else as the messenger. Well, they wanted it.
The reason I have to, shame on a lot of the people in Oxford, it got to a point where Seymour, where they were renting, was getting too many minorities in there. So now all of a sudden, sacrifice a little bit in taxes, but get our kids out of Seymour. Now we do need our high school, and that's where, there was a change. And unfortunately, that's the wrong reason to do the right thing, in my opinion.
Well, there was mentioned that it was a lower socioeconomic, I remember. But remember, Seymour turned us down, too, when we went for the regionalization, which I voted for the region, but you know what? Neither town wanted it. Of course, that was the grassroots group of parents who pushed for a high school.
And I'm glad they pushed.
Yes.
And I'll tell you this. during the power plant fiasco in the early days, I get a phone call there from a parent. She was outraged. They had a PTO. See, back in New York, it's PTA. You know, is it time?
Can you be heard? Are you
I
close
hope
enough
so.
to the microphone?
I hope so.
Is
Hello?
Jay close? My engineer says yes.
Okay,
His head
good.
is nodding.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he would have said something.
Yeah,
earlier if
he would
they
have given
couldn't
me
hear
a high sign.
Yeah. In any case, in New York, we were calling them PTAs, but the PTO here, they had a special event for the kids. Mm-hmm. And there it was. Well, this parent calls me up. She's angry. She says, you know what? The power plant people have come in. They've set up a booth in the middle of our PTA. It's supposed to be apolitical. No, not that. They set this up.
Right.
He said, are you coming to do this? I said, no, I wouldn't. I would never have thought of doing something like that. That's your party. Why would I come and do, well, you better come. She said, you better come, because they got this whole thing. I said, well, I grabbed some video. I had video of.
Oh yes, that was the time where you were leading what STP is doing now. You were the head of the being against the Calpine Tawanic. Yes, go ahead.
Well, I don't think I've resigned that, but it's just
No, I
other
know,
people have
I know,
taken,
but I know they've picked up your torch, but you were the first one to lead.
Well, they're
Oxford.
also doing things a bit differently, which,
So they were at the PTO.
They were at the PTO, so I come in, and because we showed up, they had been out in the center of everything. They moved everybody where nobody would come in to see us because I was there, and I had videos to show, the size of a turbine being
Right.
dragged up 84 and
Right.
all this. Nobody really knew what a power plant is. Okay, whatever. And I was showing this stuff. I was showing it to planning and zoning, to town meetings and all this stuff. Anyway, they didn't think twice about how to manipulate people, parents who just wanted to have a PTO event for their kids.
No.
Oh, well, we'll bring this power plant in. And,
Sure, get to the parents.
Yeah, but we won't say anything to the opposition because that's too much like democracy. Mm-hmm. And that's not what we're into now. We got to get this done. That's where the money's coming from. And I won't even go into that.
Well,
the money's coming from getting this project in there, and we need to get this project in there. So, let's have, and by hook and by crook or whatever it takes, that's what happened. Now, coming out of New York City, you see this kind of stuff attempted all the time.
But it's
you
happening in
also
our
see,
town.
But you also know that there's a wide range of newspapers and media and everything. So there's going to be, differences of opinion. Yeah, I support it, but at least everyone is going to know right off the bat who's trying to sneak in what. Over here, you don't have a fourth estate.
no newspaper.
Right. Well, you have them, but they play. They play like they're a newspaper.
But they're
It's like political candidates, even at the federal level, the thing we're seeing now, and they say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I would like to see one commentator actually say to them, you say you're going to do this and you're going to do this. Isn't it more accurate to say you're going to do what you're told to do by the people paying for your candidacy?
and that's the truth.
Yeah, I would like to see the answer to that by some of them.
The truthful answer would be yes.
Well, absolutely not going. If it's Wall Street, if it's the big banks, if it's this, they're not going to give money, and now they can give it in secret, so nobody knows who's doing it. Well, why keep it secret?
Well,
Why keep it secret if it's for the good of mankind and not just for you? Nobody's saying everybody's got to be a pauper. No, I think being rich is fun.
Oh,
I'd like
yeah.
to try it sometime.
Yeah.
It's gotta
I
be
think
fun.
being rich is just fine as long as you got there in the true spirit of capitalism and in the true spirit of entrepreneurship. Nowadays, it's just the hell with everybody else and let me take the money and shove it in my pocket. But I lost my train of thought here, but you're on the right thing. They are bought and sold. And if you look at Oxford the same way, there are people now coming to, and rightly so. You don't want to look like you're so suspicious, but you have to ask yourself, if CPV comes, if the power plant is built, which everybody is saying it's a done deal, maybe it is. I don't think so, but we'll see. uh, if it's built, they will be the highest taxpayer in the town of Oxford. You don't think they're going to sway elections? You don't think the next first selectman will be able to get a donation or some way through this thing, the back door? You don't think that they're going to want Kathy Johnson to be the next first selectman, do you? You don't, you know. So you know what? They already tried it just recently when they were trying to sell the agreement before, and now they've backed off a little bit. But I believe that when Temple goes to the table with them and negotiates, I'm wondering if, as I've heard a few people say, how do we know they're not telling Temple what he's going to do next, and him not telling them what they're doing next? But you know, we don't know. But
Well, the problem is, as it always is, people who are citizens, we don't walk around with camcorders and hidden tape recorders and stuff like that.
no.
So, the way people play with the law is that, the citizen is held to the highest standard of evidentiary proof.
The citizen,
The
yes.
citizen is handed that, right? Not the guy, who's committing all of these fraudulent activities. Not the people who are going into quiet meetings and they disappear. Oh, well, let's look at the results of what you've just done. Well, what did we do? Were you there? Do you have a tape of it? You don't know what we did.
Yeah.
We didn't do that at all, but it just happened.
I don't think you can tape. I don't think mostly on golf courses you tape people. A lot of deals are made on golf
I've never
courses.
played golf. So.
I haven't either.
I never played golf. Back in my hometown, it's in Nassau County, my hometown, there was one golf course, and one of my friends in elementary school, he said, yeah, that's where my family goes and everything. I said, oh, yeah, well, what's golf? He was telling me about it. I said, is it fun? Yeah, it's fun. He says, but I can't take you to try it. I said, why can't you take me to try it? He said, you're Jewish. I said, oh, okay. Well, my interest in golf courses from that point on. Now, I know now things have changed. That's not an issue anymore. Many big clubs and everything are owned by Jews. But back then, to hear that about the people who, went to golf courses at that time, I had no interest in that whatsoever. Well, I prefer wrestling.
I prefer wrestling too. No,
not TV, right? Yeah,
no,
not TV. I'm talking about really getting out there.
Oh,
and
you
doing
want to really rough and tumble? Well,
I like wrestling. Yeah, not the phone where you go like this and you slam down on the thing and make a sound.
Well, of course that's staged.
Right, that's also. I'm talking about Olympic wrestling.
Oh,
Olympic
there
are rules,
wrestling.
and you got
that kind of professional thing.
Right, that's an art form.
Now, you brought some paperwork with you here. Now, I know you have a definite idea of this vote coming up. Well, of course, we're talking about this today. Today is Tuesday, folks, for anybody who wonders what day we're filming this. We're filming this on Tuesday, the 9th. Mm-hmm. On Thursday, I believe it's Thursday the 11th, we will be voting for or against the tax agreement for CPV, the power plant. So, Jay, can I have your thoughts on that? You have a different view of this vote from what we've talked about.
Well, unfortunately, and this is by vote of the people who were on the board of what we were doing way back when, Citizens for Defense of Oxford.
That was your group, yes?
Right. Everybody wanted to stick to the environment. I wanted to take out the orange jumpsuits and start going in that direction, but our attorney, a wonderful woman, worked for us. She's pro bono. We paid expenses and so forth and everything. She former siting council member, so that was what her interest was. She wanted to go tooth and nail against the siting council to try and change what they would do.
Yes, I remember that attorney. Nice woman.
Oh, she's a wonderful woman, very talented, well thought of. Assistant Attorney General Marconi at the most recent siting council legal meeting that was attended by people. There's a lawsuit going about what the siting council has done. We went to that thing. Marconi was representing the Siting Council, and he spoke about her being a wonderful woman. He likes her very much, and she is a delight. Okay, but she wanted to do it that way. All right, so now 20 years down the road, that's an untouched item. The actual illegality of that ever passing in the first place.
From the zoning board all the way to the referendum and everything.
From the original town meeting, which gave these powers for 15 months to the first selectman to sell town land without a town referendum. Nobody said, we're going to do this.
So that land was already signed off on by the administration before the public even got to vote on it.
Absolutely. I see an article in Voices, welcome to the power plant. Excuse me? Welcome to the power plant. And that's when everything disrupted.
And this was a good 18 years ago.
About that, yes.
About that.
Right. So now the question is a constitutional issue. You know, not only according to our charter, but according to what a politician is supposed to be doing. Never mind, they rarely do it. Never mind, they don't get caught on it. You know, that's not the issue. The issue is what is constitutional and what isn't. And I think municipalities, well, it's a state thing. You know, the state has to handle that. If in a municipality you declared that slavery was okay in your town, well, it's not just the state. It goes bigger than that. So you go to the court system, you go to the state courts, and let's say the state court says, well, it's in your town, you can have slavery. You know, and it's got to hit the feds. And that is, frankly, the way that Dr. King, who I met just shortly before he died, he was a magnificent man. You know, and in his letter from Birmingham jail, okay, he says, where there is injustice to one, there's injustice to everybody.
That's right.
We all have to fight against it. And the fact there's injustice, there are people now trying to return our population, the black community, into slaves by depriving them of the rights of freedom, by depriving them of the ability to vote. That's going on now more than ever, when you have people trying to make it harder for the elderly and the poor to register to vote. And they said, well, we're going to prevent voter fraud. Well, how much voter fraud has there been? Well, there hasn't been any, but we're going to change the law so that even though there's been no voter fraud, well, it happened twice in the last 50 years, so we'll make everybody, thousands of people, hard to register, make it hard for them, because this is what we want to do. We want to reduce the rights of the common citizen, the poor citizen. So all of those who will vote against what we want, which is whatever the 1% wants, that's what we'll take care of. And, you know, and the rest of you can go whistle.
Well, you know, it's funny you said that, because just recently I saw something from, the 1800s or around there, a receipt for you had to pay a fee to vote in Texas. And this is like the 1800s, somewhere around there. And it was $150 for the right to vote. It was a tax.
Welcome to Texas.
You had to pay a tax to vote. Now, you can imagine that any poor Mexican, of Mexican descent, anybody like that, would never be able to afford $150 to cast their vote in a tax.
And that makes sure that everybody who is elected is working for the 1%.
Right.
And then where they are, they change the bigger laws.
Sure.
Oh, now we're going to have we're going to return slavery. So, hey, it's about time. You know, this is what they wrote in the Constitution. We should go right back to the fundamental rights that we had in the Constitution, and slavery was permitted. In fact, let me tell you, those who know American history may be already aware of this. Thomas Jefferson, in the first draft of the Declaration of Independence, in the list of bad things that King George had done and reasons we should have our revolution, one of them was he permitted slavery in these colonies. Well, Ben Franklin took a look at this and said to Thomas Jefferson, listen, if we're going to have a revolution against England, do you want to fight with 13 colonies or do you want to fight with 7 colonies? Because you're going to get 7 colonies if this is in the Declaration. All of the South is going to disappear.
Right.
So he had to pull it out.
He must have had to hold his nose to do that.
Not only that, at the end of life, he was asked, what were the most important things that you accomplished? And you know what he said? He said, I started the University of Virginia, and I started a major library for that university. He said nothing about the Declaration of Independence. Wouldn't even bring that up.
Isn't that something?
Now, he was a slave owner himself.
I
Is there
was gonna bring that
hypocrisy?
up,
Right, I mean, but I'll tell you, half and half, he was what he was, he did what he did. It is what it was. And that's why he did not bring up the Declaration of Independence as the thing that he was most proud of.
Well, you look at it and you have to say that people do the best they can do at the time, some of them. But you look at Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and you see that nothing politically jarred him. He kept his eye on the ball and did what he thought was right.
Well, he did, and there was a strategy to that. He didn't do that to just get popular coverage and everything. He got it to get the popular coverage to see what was going on against his people, to get it seen by the feds and the people up north, because it then went to court. When he was arrested, his case had to be adjudicated. Well, now everybody's watching this. It's not one of the regular, take him out, lynch him courts. This, now everybody's watching. And the court, referred it, well, they ruled against him, so it went up to a higher court. The goal was to get this up out of the South into federal court. And at the federal court level, that's where rubber met the road. And I see that same thing happening
With the power plant.
with the power plant, because this issue has not been adjudicated based on the infringement at the very beginning, and thank God there are.
How is it going to get there, though, Jay? Now, you are
Well, you
saying
start here,
you start here.
and you get shot down. Then you start at the next level, it gets shot down, and you go up until it hits the Supreme Court, because this is going to be a constitutional issue. Can that kind of dirty trick be done at a municipal level? Because if it can, consider how many other dirty tricks could be done in defiance of democracy in every little town, every medium-sized town.
Will this upset the people that are proposing the power plant, CPV, and their investors? Do you think?
Well, it'll upset me if the Supreme Court says, no, they can keep doing it. But that's going to be a long while from now.
Well, what will it do? Will this jar them in any way?
Well,
if it's built?
I assume they're not going to be able to start going once this hits the court. This will be, if there would be a, what do they call it, a cease and desist until this goes to trial.
We would have to accomplish that in nanoseconds, Jay. You know what I mean? That could take years to get it to the...
Well, they could even get started. Cease and desist.
Yeah.
Okay, cease. I mean, you've already started it, but we're ceasing your ass. Pardon. Well, this is cable,
Yeah,
right? I can say
it. Yeah, we're
So
ceasing.
We're ceasing it, and it's blah 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 blah. That's why I'm. I
Well,
feel what I
that
do.
sounds like... Now, I'm going to play...
Thank God for crowdsourcing, because there are people
I'm
there
gonna
who want
play
to fund
the
this thing.
opposite way.
Yeah, go ahead.
That sounds like a dream. I mean, it sounds like a dream. It sounds like almost an insurmountable thing. It sounds like we should have started it 10 years ago. It sounds like, how do we do this? They're looming right over our heads, and those are my questions. The other thing is, I see you have the last flyer that just came out. Did you want to talk about what you think of this vote?
Well, I'm not going to the vote myself, because to me it's an exercise in futility.
You're
And I'm
gonna
saying
boycott
that,
it.
yeah, I'm saying that this will not show before the vote is taken, but I've always told this to the people putting out the flyers and everything. I think whether these guys pay X or they pay Y for taxes, A, they're not going to pay it anyway. You can, tell
No,
whatever.
because I understand they've only paid $2.5 million in the whole 18 years, to the town, and now they've given us $1,175,000 on January 4th, of course, to help Temple's budget, and of course to look like they've coughed up something. But they've coughed up not much. So go ahead.
Right. Well, the point is that they're going to do whatever they want to do anyway. And if they pay X or if they pay Y, this vote does not stop the power plant. And if Temple says that he's going to negotiate something, if it does, he'll do something good for the town, please bring me the laughing box so I can cover my face while
Yes.
I laugh
Yes.
in that one. I mean, all I can say is being on the side of the citizen. This is a guy who has, supported everything that went on to keep this power plant facade
From the very beginning.
in the dark. Everything has been. He's
He's
part
still
of.
not communicating well enough. But
Well,
anyway.
but when he does communicate, it's rife with deception. Okay? Temple, remember, you said on TV, there were signs, tax collector, there were signs, did
Red
nothing
flags,
about it.
Red flags, yep.
Red flag, did nothing about it, even though there were signs, red flags, what do you want to call them? It's on TV. I remember I held up that the URL for that.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Right, so if you go...
Red flags, he pays
Red flag
attention
sign,
to red
right.
flags,
Yeah,
yep.
still there, so the same people who audited for all those years, they're still working here, What do you have to know about somebody to know about a lot of people? He's not the only one, trust me. He's not
Right.
the only one,
There is a cast of characters.
There's a
and I
cast
know
of
who they are.
characters in Oxford who, are not out for the good of the people. And when the people have an issue with it, they will obfuscate. They will darken the hallway,
And we have a dark hallway now. So now you're saying that you're going to boycott. Now my position is I'm going to vote no. And
Okay.
as we've said before on the program, this will already have happened, and we'll know. Let's speculate here. If the vote is yes, how do you see our town post power plant? If the vote is no, how do you see our town post the no vote?
Well, there's no, neither of them are post-power plant. The power plants come in one way or the other, regardless of that
And
vote.
you truly believe that, Jay?
Absolutely.
That it's coming?
Absolutely, because whatever the vote is, these people are going to do whatever they want anyway. They've already been able to, you've got these guys who mean very well.
They mean well, yes.
They mean very well. But again, they want more money. $112 million is simply not enough. More money sooner. Provide this, provide nothing about the environment, independent monitoring and reporting. That doesn't come at the
Yeah,
vote.
you know why they're
That's
not talking about the environment? And I'll tell you why. Because the general public doesn't feel like reading the explanation. Those who want the money look at it and say, it's not going to pollute. The DEP said so, and the Siting Council. The government says it's okay. And the other side is going to say, we wanted more money. We wanted more money. How do you convince people when they, you can't see particulates? We can sit in a room and they're like ghosts to people.
Listen.
They don't exist. They don't want to believe it.
It's a political issue, and they believe that by the time, if money appears, which it won't, but if money does appear and taxes are paid, the people, particularly those who are wealthier, will have to pay less than they expect to pay without the power plant. That's been the
people
lie.
really think they're going to have a $2 million decrease. And all this, I'm telling you, they really think that
Well,
this money is going to be the end all of Oxford's worries.
Well, I'll tell you, if they think, I mean, what is really going to happen, and you brought the point up before, this town is going to become like one of those medieval fiefdoms. You have the lord of the manor sitting on top of the hill,
Yep.
AKA power plant and its proponents.
Right.
And that's it.
That's
Anything needs to be done, or, one way or another, it's going to have to be vetted
through them.
through the lord of the manor. Even if it has nothing, if it's, should be, what do we do down by Lake Zor for swimming regulations? Well, let's go to the power plant. Let's ask those, what do they think? Because they're running this town. They help us get elected. They're involved in all the committees. You watch how many power plant guys will suddenly be volunteering for all of these town committees and so forth, whether they live here or not. They will be on board one way or another. And they'll be running this town. And you watch what happens. That is where you're going to really run into the development of the Little Flushing, only it'll be in Connecticut and not in Queens. Little Flushing, it was once farmland.
Right.
Okay. Well, now it's Big Flushing.
Right.
And all of the things, the industry and all of this has led to two things: heavy pollution and habitability, mostly now by people who are from other countries, who are constrained, by resources, or if they have plenty of money, which many of the Chinese do have, there's still houses there clustered together that are worth millions. Why? Because they're that close, and that's their community. Bottom line is, we got Little Flushing going to be built. Little airport, little power plant. Well, now it's going to be a bigger power plant. It'll be a bigger airport. Or there'll be something else coming in. Well, now, who's going to fight against pollution, to compete? For the environment. The environment's already trashed, so now the next thing that somebody wants to put in there will be something else that nobody else in the adjoining communities wants. And that's why they give us patted on the back. Oxford, yeah, we support Oxford building a power. We support yeah, how about your voters in your town? They don't want it here. They're not going to let it. We're not Oxford. We're not stupid.
Well, yeah,
they're going to vote us out of office if we do that.
Well,
Oxford,
yeah.
be my guest. That's why all of these agencies and these coalitions and these towns come out and say, yay, Oxford. We're, good for you. We support the fact that you have it in Oxford. Of course.
Well, except for Middlebury, Naugatuck, and Southbury, who are...
But that gets dismissed. That gets missed by people in the state, because they say, this is typical. You get the pollution, but you don't get the tax money.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so that's why you're pissed off. And here, what they're saying is, well, it's really not enough money.
Well,
And
that's another way to go. I want to vote no. I'm going to vote no. By the way, we only have 2 more minutes, but or 5 more minutes, something like that. I'm going to vote no simply because if it's the done deal it's going to be, and they're going to have what they want, I have my right. I'm not going to boycott. I'm going and vote no, so that it goes down in record that this many people voted no and this many voted yes. And forever it'll be that I can say 10 years from now, when this all goes sour and it isn't the pie in the sky that everybody imagined, I voted no. Just like going into Iraq, okay?
Okay, well,
the people who voted no are happy people today.
Well, I would hope. I mean, if that makes you happy,
It
God
makes
bless
me
you.
happy.
If that makes you good. I hope you and the other no voters will be willing to do yes when it comes time to fight this in court. The other way.
Well, this
who's going to help out there? Or am I going to do all the driving?
Well, you've got the most.
Do I pay for all the gas?
By the way, I'm going to say this to you, Jay. Of course, you're going to do the driving. You have the highest IQ in the town. You're a Columbia graduate. You're an author, and you know big words that none of us have ever heard. And you're only speaking in regular English to me. So, folks, don't let Jay's long hair and his little Socrates look fool you. Jay, if you can lead the way, I will look at it very closely and follow. How's that?
Good. Well,
right.
that's good to hear.
All right, I'll say it here on the program. If
Okay.
you can show me as an elected official that we can do something this way and we can get there, I'll work with you.
Well, good.
All right. So, what would you like to say in our last couple of minutes, Jay, to wrap this up?
Well, let's wrap this up now because I do need to use the men's room.
Well,
On TV.
well,
There you know.
well,
There you know.
do you remember what Trump said? Excuse me, folks. Jay Halpern is leaving the building. Thank you and good night. I'll talk to the folks a little bit more here. No, Jay, wait a minute. There's nothing behind the curtain but the wizard. You have to exit that door. All right. This is talk about extemporaneous. All right, that was our guest. I'm going to say to my engineer, I'm going to wrap up in about 2 or 3 seconds. I'm going to thank Jay Halpern, who is indisposed at the moment, and honestly a wonderful man, and he has some good reasons why he had to be indisposed here. I think I remember Hillary leaving the stage during one of the debates because she had to go to the ladies' room. But that's okay. We're an amateur show here, and I hope everyone got a good chuckle out of it. To everyone out there, I would just like to say thank you very much for tuning in to Town Talk. I am going to say goodbye to all of you from Jay Halpern and myself. I'm saying to you, have a wonderful evening and a better tomorrow. This is Kathy Johnson saying bye.